Okay, everybody. It is me, Sean and Jen.
Yes, you, Sean and Jen.
We're here with our monthly Minion talk. This is, what month is this? This is September, isn't it?
Second month. This is September.
Okay, excellent. So I see we have some people in there, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's see, we hold a very informal webinar, so we invite everybody to come into the audio, and we don't mute anybody. So if you have any questions, just speak up. We either know the answer or we don't, right? Okay, so we're going to do the beginning company thing first, and then we'll jump right in with the demos. I don't expect this to take the full hour. Did you schedule an hour for this?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I don't expect it to take the full hour, but you never know with questions and, you know, SRS being the way it is on the laptop, right? Okay, so we are Minionware Software. We're also the Midnight DBAs. We're also Midnight SQL Consulting. We're also DBAs at Midnight. We are a lot of things. This is the only thing that doesn't have DBA in it, I just noticed. So we have, not my...
It's more about the software than the database.
Yeah, it's more about the software than the database. Okay, so we have a number of products here. We have the Minion suite, the Minion Enterprise suite of products. And in that suite, we have 3 free modules. We have Reindex, Backup, and CheckDB. And of course, I'm writing CheckDB right now, so don't go looking for a download, even though he's got the prettiest color. But those things are 100% free, and they are not limited in functionality whatsoever. The only thing that we'll say is that they're better in Minion Enterprise, and that's only because there are things that we can do with them in Minion Enterprise once we get it up there, right?
For the nature of the product itself, because it's an enterprise-wide thing as opposed to these standalone modules or per server.
Exactly, exactly. So we don't hold anything back. We have never once said, hey, this would be really cool, let's hold it back and make them pay for it. No, we want to give you absolutely everything we can in the entire the entire standalone product. But today, we are talking about Minion Enterprise. And specifically, we're talking about the disk management module. And we touch on the disk management module when we do our overview, right? When we give people our overview demo. But this is going to be more of a deep dive and actually show you some of the stuff that can be done instead of kind of glossing over the functionality, right?
Right.
Okay, but first let's talk about the key philosophies that we have. We don't like slides. And in fact, I kind of despise slides. I said that last time, and you said, well, no, we don't. No, well, yeah, I kind of do.
You do. I don't as much.
But it's important for you to understand the philosophies of Minion Enterprise and why we do the things the way we do and how it's architected. So we've got some key things that we like always do and never do, right? And this comes from, you know, my last 20 years of being in very large enterprises and sometimes being one of only 1 or 2 DBAs managing hundreds or thousands of servers by myself. So, you know, I put a lot of work into this product, and it's a culmination of, you know, years and years and years, right? I mean, it's not something I just sat down and wrote. This is, you know, a culmination of something that's taken me a long time to even develop the philosophies. So number 1 is, get on the slide before you click it, there we go, is consider the entire enterprise. Now this is something that I don't think anybody does well. And in fact, nobody does it the way we do. I'll just go ahead and say that, right?
Sure.
And I like to put it like this. One of the biggest things that aggravates us about like the C# guys, right, is that they do the rebar operations, right? They do row by agonizing row, and even when they write SPs, everything is a cursor, right? Or they'll bring back 2 million rows from the front, and then they'll cursor through the entire set to get down to the, you know, couple hundred that they need, right? So they don't really take the database, they don't really use the database to its advantage. So we've, you know, what are we always telling them? We're always telling them that you have to be set-based, right? T-SQL is set-based. Databases are set-based. Well, what we've done here is we've given you a set-based enterprise management system. So you don't have to go from server to server to server to server, row by agonizing server. Anyway.
Server by agonizing.
Server by agonizing row. Anyway, Oh, server by agonizing click.
Sure.
Okay. You can get everything from the same place, and it saves you days and sometimes weeks of time trying to organize some of this stuff and trying to get certain things done. So we consider the entire enterprise at once. Another one is automate everything that can be automated. And I don't really think that we need to punch that one anymore. That pretty much speaks for itself. Don't drop objects on servers. Now, this is a really big one for us because I have implemented so many applications, so many monitoring apps, so many management apps in different shops. And, you know, it is a project every single time you go to do it, right? I mean, you've got 500 servers, 1,500 servers, and, you know, you get something like SCOM, and the first thing you got to do is roll all of the agents out to all the boxes. And, of course, there's a problem on this box. There's a problem on that box. And, you know, you have to have backup plans because, you know, you had to have the change control to begin with, and you got to explain to everybody what it does so that you can do the change control. And then you've got to print, you know, your rollout plan, then you got to print your backup plan, then you got to go through a whole series of whatever it is you have to go through, like signatures and begging and favors and all of that stuff just to get this thing rolled out. And you're not going to get it done in a day. You're not going to get it done in a week, right? Because there's just too much. But with Minion, we don't drop anything on the servers at all, and the Minion Enterprise setup itself is about 5 minutes, and then everything just picks up and starts running. You have to configure some stuff, but you know, everything just starts running. And the same thing goes with upgrades. When we come out with a new version, or if you get one of our feature packs, you just put it in, you just plug it into the server, and all of the servers automatically start getting it. There's nothing else to do. No event storming. So huge for us, and you're going to see this here.
Right. We don't care much for event storming because it teaches people not to pay attention to alerts of any kind. You get 1,000 events in all at once for one event, for one incident, or you regularly get a whole bunch of random alerts that don't mean anything at all. You don't actually have any alerts. You've just got a bunch of white noise. We really don't like that.
Yeah, and it's not even all that white. I mean, it's just noise, right? I often tell the story that one of my last gigs, I was hired on, I was interviewed on a Monday and started the following Monday and had over 30,000 emails in my box waiting for me, and they all came from SCOM. And the DBAs laughed at me, and we spent I spent the first half of the day setting up my Outlook rules, and everybody had everything going to Outlook rules. And that's a ridiculous way to do things. You're going to see how we do it, but you will never, ever get event stormed by us. Log everything, report on anything. We use this philosophy all throughout the product. You're going to see it a little bit here, but this isn't as heavily, there's not as much disk data as there is other types of data, so you're not going to get to see a really good example of this. But it still exists, and you know, we grab what we can, right? Okay, so with that in mind, work like a DBA. And we don't say that lightly. What we mean by work like a DBA is that so many applications are GUI driven. Even ones that claim to save you tons of time and to be enterprise level applications are nothing but GUI driven apps. You can't really schedule them. You can't script against them. You can't add them to your processes. You certainly can't do things against multiple boxes at once. And if you can, the structure for that is so rigid, right? Because you know, you have to set up like these individual groups of things, like with PBM, right? You have to set up these individual groups of things, and you can't really get very fluid with any of this. So work like a DBA. What do DBAs do? They do things at the command line. They do things in T-SQL. They do things in batches, right? They do things very fluidly. We've got, you know, we may have to do one operation against 30 servers today, but we may have to do it against 700 tomorrow, the exact same thing.
Right. You don't want to sit there and go click, 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 click a dozen times 700 times over.
Right. And you may get tired of doing it at all. You may be able to detect a condition and then have something kick off and do it for you, right? So these are all things that are very possible with ME. So let's go ahead and see the demos. I'm going to drag this down, put that over there. There we go. Okay, so we're talking about disk space today. And I'm just going to check because everybody is so incredibly quiet. We're still good, right? Everybody can still hear me okay?
Sort of startle everyone back into, oh, we're going to...
Yeah, I know, right? He just doesn't want to talk. She just doesn't want to talk. Okay, cool. Alrighty. So here, let me get rid of this snag it thing. It's going to drive me crazy all day. All right, so... there's somebody.
Thanks.
Okay, so we're talking about disk space, and we're going to get into the specifics of disk space and disk space management. Now, first of all, let's talk about alerting, because that's really the biggest thing. I would say it's the biggest thing that we do, but it's the most visible thing that we do, right? So typically, if you have a disk alerting system, and I mean, everybody's got one. You know, we haven't really done anything special in the sense that, oh, look, nobody else is alerting on disks, right? Here, I'm just going to close some of that down a little bit. But what we do is we group our alerts so that you're not being event stormed. And I've actually got a really good, here we are. Now, forgive the data that's bad. Jen fixed this a little while ago, but I wanted you to see what an alert would look like if it comes in and you've just got dozens and dozens of drives. And you see here, I've got 2 drives here, right? I mean, I've got 2 servers. I've got SQLCon and ZZT. Now, like I said, that was bad data that caused this to go out. So, you know, don't judge it by this data set. But this is what an alert would look like, and we give you the threshold, the metric, and we give you the application that's associated with it. Because, you know, a lot of times when you get a lot of these alerts, you may not have any idea what the server name is, but you may have a very good idea of what the application is, right? And if you look even here inside of Outlook, come here, it's very easy to see that I've got 70 drive space issues for gold. I mean, it's really easy to see what this is about. You know, I don't have any, it's none of this, you know, drive space alert, and then you have to open it up and dig through 15 lines of text to finally get to a drive letter or finally get to a condition or something. Every single thing that you get from us will be actionable. So, and we're going to talk about this little link right here in a few minutes. But you notice here that we've got that we give you the metric and the threshold. Now the metric here says %, but what we allow you to do is we allow you to change your metrics and your thresholds very easily so that even for an entire server worth of disks, right, or for any disk, and you're going to see this in a couple minutes, for any disk on any number of boxes, you can set a custom threshold, and it doesn't have to be %. We can also give you, you know, gigs, megs, Ks. I don't think I do bytes, because if you're down to bytes, I mean, that's just ridiculous, right? So every individual drive on a server can have a separate threshold. One of them can have 15%, another one could have 5%, another one could have 3 gigs, another one could have 50 gigs, another one could have 20 megs. I mean, you can mix and match all day long, right, as much as you want. Now, I know that other tools do this. As a matter of fact, this is one of the big things this is one of the big showdowns I always have with the SCOM guys, right? Because they always go, yes, we can do that. We can set separate alerts, or we can set separate thresholds very easily. And I go, okay, show me. And he's clicking and he's waiting because the interface is horrible, right?
Right.
Then he's waiting some more. Then he clicks again. Then he opens up another window. Then he goes to another tab. And then he finally gets the thing and says, see, it's right here. And I'm like, okay, what if you have 70 of those right here that I need to adjust? Well, in Minion, we give you, it's a simple SP call, and we even give you the SP call right here. So if you need to change a threshold, then all you have to do is copy that and paste it into a SQL window and change it to whatever you want. We also give you, let me get down here, the code to exclude a drive. So if you just don't want to report on that drive at all, then you can exclude it very easily. You can just copy and paste that code into Management Studio and you're done. As well, we allow you to defer something, and we're going to talk about deferments more in a minute. So let's get back into here real quick. There we go. So okay, so that's what the alert itself looks like. So let's go ahead and see, I set these up for the old data set, and then Jen cleaned up the old data set. So now I have to look at the new alert and see what I'm getting. So now I've only got a G drive, and it's set for 15%, and it's got 650 gigs free, right? So let's go ahead and set up an exception for this, or not an exception, we'll set up a threshold. So I'm just going to change that to G, and then let's give it, 15 gigs, right? So we don't want to be alerted until it's 15 gigs free, right? So I'm going to set up that exception right there. And then now let's run the alert again, and let's see what we get. See, the alert came up empty because now that fell out, right? So now if I were to raise that to 650, it still isn't going to go. Oops. I'm sorry. I meant, what did I mean to do? 100. How come I can't do this?
Say again.
I must have that too low. I must not have counted on 100 gig threshold.
Huh.
100. Yeah, I must not have counted on 100 gig threshold. I'll change that. Yeah, I've never actually put that in there before, so that's damn test data.
I know, right?
Damn test data. Okay, so I'll change that back down to something a little more reasonable, 20. That's just a decimal point issue. There we go. So now I've got that alert. So now you can see that I've inserted that threshold for there. And if I want to set up an exception, I do have the ZZT in there, don't I? Let's check that out. No, that one's fallen out too. So let's go ahead and set up an exception for SQLCon and for the G. There we go. Am I in the right damn box?
Looks like it.
You're
in the right database.
Did you do something? Because I ran this 3 times this morning, and it was just fine.
No, I haven't been messing with this.
I appear to find myself in demo hell right now.
Yeah, it happens to everybody.
Yeah, it happens. Well, I'm going to move on because something happened to this since this morning. Somebody did something. You can see there's an object missing down there that used to be there. So somebody's deleted an object. Certainly wasn't me. Okay. Let's back up for a second now. Demo hell being what it is. And let's look at the anatomy of a drive space request. So that's how the alerts themselves work, right? So you have this code that you can theoretically run, and it will do your bidding for you. Now, if I had 30 of these things in here, I just copy all 30 of them and I can drag them down, right? So when I have a disk space request, there we are, I'll highlight this so I don't lose my place again. What happens? The first thing you have to do is you have to validate that the request is valid, right? So you have to you have to look at the server and you say, okay, is this a log that's gotten too full? Is it did somebody drop a big backup file out there? Did some backup files not get cleaned up? What's causing this drive space to fill up, right? Well, right now, we can't really do anything about that aspect of it yet. And I can discuss with y'all why we can and why we can't. But once you decide whether or not that space is real and you need to expand the drive, then what you have to do after that, sorry, she was kind of motioning something to me. Then after that, you have to request the space from the disk guys. And I don't know about you guys, but from one shop to another, I've had varying luck getting drives extensions out of disk guys, right? It takes anywhere between like 1 and 3 weeks. So what happens once you request that disk space? the guy writes you back instantly and says, no way, right? You say, hey, dude, this drive is full. I need to extend it by, say, 300 gigs. And they go, no way. 300 gigs? Are you kidding me? I don't have that kind of space just lying around. And so you go, no, really, I need it. And they go, well, great, you can't have it. And you go, but why not? I need it. And they go, prove it. You can have it, but prove it. You have to justify your space. And this is where we come in. So we help you justify that space. Now, there are a couple ways you can do that. You can run this query here that will give you your data used, and you can pop that thing into Excel. I quite often do that. And I'm just showing you a couple different ways that you can work with the tool, except I wanted to grab it with headers. And so now I do that, and I say format as a table. Yep. And then I go to insert, and I'll say pivot chart. I just want my chart. I'll put in the existing worksheet. You can put it right there. There we go. And now I've got that in there. I can just drag this date down to the axis, and I can drag the data used into the values. And so now I can see my data usage, and now I can just copy and paste this into an email and say, here's a graph. I've gone from this space to this space in this amount of time. That's why I need the space that I requested, right? Because I'm requesting for 6 months, and this is what I need for that 6-month period. So you can do it that way, but we'll also do something for you. So if you come into this alert and you click on the drive letter, we'll give you a report right here that shows you the space usage for that drive. And then, of course, you can switch all the drives if you wanted to. There you go. So I'll go back to the G drive because that's the one the alert was on. So now you've got two choices. You can either screenshot this and send it to him, or you could just copy it and give him access to the report itself and say, hey, here's the report itself. Go ahead and give me the space, right? So you'd right click on here. You'd say copy hyperlink, and then in there you'd say here's a link to the report that shows you the growth that we have. And it's very simple. Then you move to the next one and you do the same thing. But you work your way down this list, right? So now you have the problem of once you've requested the space, the alert doesn't go away, right? So you've got this alert that's firing, I don't know, how do these things work? They fire every 10 minutes, every hour, every something, right? Like that. So if it takes a week, you're going to get an email like every 10 minutes or every hour telling you that this drive is full. Or if it's 3 weeks, it's going to be that long. And now what are you doing? You're teaching yourself to ignore your alerts, because that's what's going to happen. You're going to go, oh, wait a minute, I know about it. We've already requested disk space on that. And you're even going to double and triple up on the work, because if you're on a team of DBAs, one guy's going to fix it, and then the next guy's going to come in and say, hey, I need to look at that. And then somebody's going to go, oh, no, I've already taken care of it. Oh, okay. And then the other guy's going to come in, maybe he wasn't in the meeting, and he's going to start working on it. And then they're going to go, no, we've already taken care of it. And now the disk guys may even get multiple requests for the same thing because you're not communicating. That's not a way to work. That's just not how you do it, right? So what we do is we have a concept of a deferment. So instead of, here, let me do this. So now, instead of ignoring your alert, once you're in here and you request the space, then you come down here and you grab the defer SQL and you run it. And this is just the server name, the drive, the day that you're deferring, the day and the time that you want to defer to. So what you're saying is, don't alert me on this drive issue until this date and time. So you're going to give them a week. So here we are on the 1st, we got on the 7th, and I'm going to say, don't alert me on this again for another week, and that drive won't show up. So if you're the one that took care of this and you defer it, then the next time this alert comes out, that one's going to fall out of the list, and the DBAs are the DBAs that didn't do this one are only going to work on the ones that are currently in the list, and they're going to defer theirs, and so on, right? But now for the next week, your alerts are clean, right? You don't have to manage anything. Are there any questions so far? Any comments?
Just as a brief note, I took a look at that drive space exception that wasn't working.
Uh-huh.
I think it's an old version that snuck in because it's referring to a table that's outdated.
But I ran it 3 times this morning.
I don't know, man.
I wonder if I ran it on a different machine. I do
probably
that
did.
all the time.
Yeah, but
Man.
it's just a little snippet at the end that's like an error reporting thing. It's referring to a table without. So.
Oh, okay.
But it's not in the published. It's not in the.
It's not in the published
product,
package.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then it must be an old version. Then I must have run that on the other box. Oh well, I do that all the time.
Don't you color code your stuff?
I do now.
Uh-huh.
At least I thought I did. Okay, so where are we now? Okay, so server exceptions. Now, this is one of the things that I always gloss over in the overview demo. I'm always saying, like, okay, let's say that you have a situation where you've got a bunch of 2003 boxes. And, you know, nobody's out there putting together new 2003 boxes, right? And we're talking Windows, right, not SQL.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, a lot of times what happens is I end up getting these C drive alerts because they quite often only had like these 60 gig drives on, you know, these 60 gig internal drives for their C. And, you know, with years of updates and patching and all of that stuff, that creeps up and up and up and up and up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your disk space usage just starts to just, you know, get closer and closer and closer to capacity. So you end up lowering the threshold and then lowering again and then lowering it again and then lowering it again, right? Until now you're down to like, oh God, I've been managing all the way down to like 10 and 15 megs before. So you may want to just like put an exception in for those guys and say, you know what, if it's a 2003 box and you've got a, you know, I just don't want to get any alerts on the C drive. Regardless of where it is, I don't want to get any alerts on the C drive, right? Because we're DBAs, right? We don't really manage that level of thing, right?
Sure.
So it's really easy to do here. I've opted for creating the SP call instead of actually calling the SP. But if I come here, I'm hoping that's the problem. Nope. That's the problem. Oh, that's right. I added this in.
Versions, yeah.
I added this in the last minute because, and here's why. I added that in by mistake from something later on. And the reason why it didn't work now is because I want this to be open to all Windows boxes and not just SQL boxes.
Right.
Right. So that's where I went wrong right there. And now you can see, thank God, a demo finally kicked off. So now I just paste that into another window. And now I've got all of these guys here. I should have put go statements, I know.
And you're missing a
I'm missing a code at the end. But you can see how easy that code is to create, right? If I go...
Nope, not there. At the end of the server name, right there.
Oh.
There you go.
There we go. Well, if I run that again.
There you go. All single quotes everywhere.
All single quotes all the time. There Beautiful. We go. That's better. But you can see how easy it is to do these 30 servers. I've just set up C drive exceptions for 30 servers, and you know, barring my little mishap there, in about 5 seconds. Right? So this is what we mean when we say consider the entire enterprise. There isn't another tool out there that lets you create disk exceptions en masse like that.
And since we're doing this, just creating code out of the servers table, we could very easily filter this in any way we please via the name of the server. We've got a subset by name, or the SLA, or the app they're associated with, or anything.
Right, or the environment. You could do all dev servers or all prod servers. You could put in drive space exceptions for all of your dev boxes, for all of one application's dev boxes, for all of the dev boxes that are managed by this director. I mean, it's ridiculous how fine-grained you can get with this. And here I even went so far as to say, oh, let's set up another one just for all the bronze boxes, just to show you another way to do it, right? And, of course, it doesn't have that thing either. There we go.
Nice.
I'll save that. So you can see how how really easy it is. And a lot of these other solutions aren't any more difficult, right? I mean, by other solutions, I mean by doing it by application or anything like that. A lot of these things aren't any more difficult, right? It's just a couple more joins. So, I mean, this is something that you could easily add to processes. This is something that you could easily just script and keep it. And next time you needed to do something like that, you could go bam, right? Something you could even alert against. You could do all kinds of things with this. And this is what we mean when we say work like a DBA, right? Don't just sit there and click through these GUIs, because on any other tool on the planet, to add 30 disk exceptions like that, or to change thresholds for 30 boxes with, say, dozens of drives on each one of them, would just be click. Hell, you'd be sitting there for, I mean, possibly days. I mean, just literally sitting there just clicking through stuff, right? And even if you had those things in groups, like you had a Windows 2003 server group, and you could go through there and do all of the C drives on all those boxes at once, right? It may not be O3 next time. It may be prod, or it may be QA, or it may be this one set of servers that starts with this, right? Or it may be all of your 2008 R2 boxes that are above a certain patch level. It could be anything, right? And you can't possibly make that many groups in a GUI. You can't possibly do it, right? Because there's always going to be one thing that you didn't take into account, right? There's always going to be one more group. So, okay, let's go ahead and take a look at current drive space. Now, we've got just a simple report for this. At least I hope it's simple. We're going to look at that in a minute. Okay, let's look at it now. Friggin' SRS on a laptop. What did I say? Latest drive space. Yeah, sorry guys. I try to warm SRS up on this laptop and it just doesn't work. Okay, now, we give you a number of ways to find the boxes here too. And, you know, we're actually relatively proud of these little drop downs, because we take into account the fact that you could have hundreds of servers, right? So we didn't want to just give you a server list, but we want to be able to help you whittle these things down as much as possible. So you can look at them by SLA. You can pull up a raw server list if you want. You can look at them by environment or by application. So we're going to look at them by SLA, and we're going to look at the gold servers. And now what this will do is this will populate all of your gold servers in this list. And again, SRS just being really slow on a laptop. There we go. So now I've got a list, and I can choose more than one, but I'm just going to choose SQLCon right now. It's the only one I know for a fact I've got good test data for.
Nice time to sit and
I know, right?
on
Life and whatnot.
SSRS.
I swear to God, I run this thing on servers and it comes up instantly.
Well, we ought to start doing demos on servers.
I know, right? Okay, so latest drive space report. Now, you get a breakdown per. I'm not going to click on this because we'll be sitting there for another 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But you get the number of drives per server. So if I had a number of servers in here, it's just a nice little thing to see who has the most drives, right? But you've got this right here, free versus used space. Now the purple is going to be your used space, and the little ghosted bar right here is your free space. And you notice how I've got links on both of these. So if I come up to this one right here and click on this one, it will give me the history for that drive. So I can see the growth history for that drive, right? If I click on this one, the ghosted image, it will give me the prediction based off of what we've analyzed from the past, from the drive history, when this drive is going to fill up. So let's go ahead and take a look at that one, because that's the more interesting graph anyway, I think. I was messing with this morning. I hope I didn't break it.
What weren't you messing with?
And we're going to find out in just under a day.
That's right.
There we go. Geez, are you sure? I think I just get to run another queries and that stuff falls out of cache or something. Of course I broke it. Why wouldn't I have broken it this morning? I broke it.
Why would you break it?
I don't know. I ran it like 400 times and then I broke. And this is one of my favorite ones too.
You ran it too many times.
No, I didn't run it too many times. I broke it. Sorry, guys.
All right. Well, you have to do a separate one for that.
I'm going to have to do a separate one for that, yeah. I don't know how I could have broken it. Anyway.
And yet, here we are.
And yet, here we are. That's right. How did I end up here? Okay, my box is wigging out on me. Let me see where else I'm supposed to be. I'm afraid. Okay, let's look at history then. There we are. There's the history. So, same thing, except for here I've only got a drive list. Now you can see history for all of your drives at once. There we go. So I can see all of these drives, and you can see it gets really thick really fast. This is one of the reasons why we don't really like graphs that much, right? But we choose the individual drive. Let's choose F, I suppose. Hey, at least that one still works.
Huzzah.
Okay. Now, the graphs are okay, but we don't really like it all that much. So, you know, we prefer that you guys use the API that we've provided. And that API here is going to be just the data. This is the exact SP that the report pulls up. So now you can either write your own report, you can slam it in Excel. There you go. You can write processes against it. You can write alerts against it. You can add it to different things. You can do anything you want. You can add it to your own web portal. We've got people consuming these things in other management products because they've got other monitoring products that can consume tables and can run SQL queries to get data and put up alerts on dashboards, right? Mm-hmm. So we've got people that are consuming these things like that, and they've never ever touched one of our reports. In fact, I don't even think they know that our reports exist.
Yeah.
Because they use the API for everything, and that's what we really encourage, is using the API for everything. Now, if that other alert had come up, if that other report had come up, right, you would have seen a beautiful little bar chart there that showed you what was I talking about? Oh yeah, that would show you when the drive was going to fill up, and then when the alert was going to hit, the number of days before the drive was going to fill up and the number of days before the alert was going to hit. I would love to troubleshoot it right now because it's driving me crazy what I possibly could have done to that thing.
Like I said, just do a separate video and post that. It'll be fine.
But I'm not gonna troubleshoot it live in front of the thing here. And there's
not good TV.
So there's one other thing that I want to show you guys. Oh, this is where I want to be, and I want to see the drive space. Nope, that's the one that just. Sorry, stop. Capacity history. This is the one I want to show you, because the predict is the one that is the one I broke.
Yeah.
Chicken. I'm being called a chicken. Hey, I'll do it. I just don't want to waste y'all's time. Okay, so what we're doing here now, this is a different spin on things, right? Remember, we're concerned with your time, right? We're concerned with time management. We're concerned with how you do your job and how long it takes you to do your job. And so what we've got here is we've got a capacity report. And again, I'm going to choose SQLCon because I know it's got data. And so what this is a report that shows you how often you've extended your LUNs. And this is really, really useful data because, as you're going to see here, eventually, you're spending way too much time extending these LUNs in really small chunks. Because you go, what is it, like approximately every two weeks? So here we show the overall lung growth. You see, but really what you're getting here is days since last change: 14, 17, 14, 16, 14, 17, 14, 16, 14. So you can see that approximately every 2 weeks,
they're growing that drive out.
You're growing that drive out in small increments, and that's absurd, right? And I've seen shops like this where the disc men's were so stingy with their disc. They liked a thin provisioning kind of thing, except they did it manually, right? I just got excuses. Okay, so you can hang on afterwards and watch me troubleshoot that report if you want. So this is a good way for you to look and see, oh, look, we've upped this drive. We've upped the capacity on this drive every 2 weeks. Maybe we should start doing it every 2 months, and that will give you a good idea of how much you need to request so that you can break it out every 2 months, every 4 months, every 6 months if you want to, right? Because there's no need to be that stingy. I mean, yeah, you want to give out the space that they need, but if there's a pattern of these guys requesting space every 2 weeks, and this here we clearly show, right, then maybe it would behoove you to just, not say that this isn't a pattern and to say that, we're only going to give the space that you need. We've demonstrated we're going to need it.
By doing it this way, as a matter of fact, you're giving yourself license to complain now. All you ever do is ask for disk space. Well, yeah, but that's because you're being stingy.
Exactly. And, of course, you can call that API as well, and you can add that to your processes and say, oh, look, if we're requesting space on a regular basis, if the days that we're requesting, say, is under 2 months or under 5 months or under 6 months, then let's start upping how much we ask for, right? So that's really the disk piece. We've got a couple more things coming down the road, especially some really nice fixed reports. Actually, did we ever do? Yeah, that's the one I just showed you. No, I didn't get to show you the other one because that's the one that I broke. So I must have broken it like right before the damn thing because I've run it like 100 times this morning.
Yeah, keep saying it.
I have. So, all right, that is. Let me get this up here. So much more to Minion Enterprise, guys. We've got object scripting in the SID server and log search and weak passwords, file growth, SP configure enforcement. We've got all of our AD expansion stuff, our new user cloning, just so much stuff that we can't even list it all on a single slide. It would be way too cluttered, right? And most of it is meant to run against your entire enterprise. So, for example, if you have, you can investigate all of your clustered GUIDs in your entire shop from a single location. You can investigate all of your least used indexes or your indexes that aren't being used at all across your entire shop from a single location. And you can do it, you can look at individual servers, but you can also look at, all the gold servers or all of this one application servers or at all of your dev boxes or all of your dev boxes for this one application. Or you can look at everything at once, right? So we give you so many different ways to do this. And, your auditors are going to be thrilled with the security stuff we have. Everybody else is going to be thrilled by the capacity stuff and the password stuff that we bring to the table.
Absolutely.
So, tons of stuff in here. We encourage you guys to get a trial. I know a couple of you already do have trials, and I'm dying to see how they're going. And we'll open it up for questions. And since I've bombed a couple demos, I'm not going to say comments. Let's just stick with questions. But that is officially the end of the thing, and I'm going to stop recording, and then you guys can ask questions off camera if you want, since nobody's jumping on the question bandwagon.
Thank you. Please